Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Aleya Harris. If you're looking for actionable ways to stand out from the crowd by standing in your power, you've come to the right place. Each week, we help you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs become radically authentic and tap into your unique story to attract your ideal clients. Listen in and learn how to use energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies to transform from a leader to a legend. And now, your host, Powerhouse StoryBrand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Aleya Harris.
Hello, my friend, and welcome to Season 4 of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. Season 4 is Season 4 because we are making a slight shift. Up until this point, we've heard from amazing guests who've run multi-million-dollar companies and who have worked internationally and who have transformed lives, their own and others. And I have enjoyed every single moment of it. But this season, if you can believe it, we're getting even deeper. How are we doing that? We are leveraging the power of radically authentic, strategic storytelling. To which you are like, that's a lot of words. Let me do it one more time. Radically authentic, strategic storytelling. Radically authentic, strategic storytelling is a full concept that I wish I could have found a shorter term for. If you have one, let me know. That encapsulates really how I approach building relationships within companies, building relationships from stage, developing strategies, leading teams, and leading myself. It is authentic storytelling for a purpose, with a purpose. And this season, we're focusing on stories. There'll be episodes that are just stories crafted to inspire and to help you understand yourself a little bit better by providing you words that you might not have readily available for yourself. We'll also have storytellers invited to teach you the craft and art of storytelling. Here we're talking about things, yes, like the StoryBrand SB7 framework, because I am a StoryBrand Certified Guide, but other methodologies. I'm talking about ways of conveying your story that you might not have thought of so far, or thus far. We're also going to be hearing from people who are a little bit of a blend of both. I have some guests planned who I just met on LinkedIn and we got talking and I was like, oh no, you have to come and tell this story. They're business owners like maybe you are, and they have such a unique story. There's even one person that I talked to that in our conversation, I was brought to tears because I was so inspired and warmed in the cockles of my heart by their story. So there's some amazing guests that are coming your way. And of course, we have solo episodes like this one where, truthfully, I can really talk about whatever I want, but I'm going to be doing lots of storytelling and story crafting. I'm going to have a heavy focus on helping you tell your story and realize that you have a story that is worth hearing. At the end of last year, 2023, I launched a workshop series called Spark the Stage. It was live taught over 4 weeks, and it was a beta because I wasn't sure, one, if I really wanted to get into that world again of that type of content, and if it really was going to be helpful. I'd never actually taken the magic that I do on stage and tried to teach it in a program to someone else. Well, the beta went really, really well. Spark the Stage beta went really well. People felt like they found their voice, they found their story, they were inspired, they were motivated, they created their signature talks, and they know exactly how and when to deliver it. So I'm going to be rolling out Spark the Stage and opening up sessions multiple times this year. So I'm going to be using the podcast to also help you speak better from stage, whether it's you want to become a professional speaker, or even if you are working for someone else and you just want to give better presentations that are not the presentations of 1980, 1990, 2000, or even 2020. They're the types of presentations that people resonate with now in 2024, after all of us have gone through such large, profound, far-reaching internal and external change. That's when I go back to the concept of radically authentic strategic storytelling. What does radically authentic mean? I know some people are like, you just took authentic and put a radically on top of it just to make it sound cool. I promise I did not. The fact that it sounds cool is just like, it's a side effect. Authentic to me means that you are yourself. Now, what does that mean, though? Because then you get people, I'm authentically myself. I'm going to spew my crap at you and berate you and have all of my nastiness come out on you because that's authentically how I'm feeling. If we view emotions as a choice and a state that our authentic self is moving through, then your emotional spewing, for better or for worse, is not your authentic self. Your authentic self is at the core of who you are. It's that part of you that doesn't change, the part of you that is constantly moving in flow, in love, in grace, in gratitude, the part of you that inspires without trying, the part of you that motivates without needing to be motivated. That is the core of who you are, the part of you that understands, knows, and values your purpose. That is your authentic self. Everything else around it is created by stories that you tell and stories that have been told to you and stories that you have observed over and over and have come to believe as the truth. The radical part comes in because truthfully, y'all don't want to be doing the work. So like, if I just came to you and was like, yeah, just be authentic, you might say, I'm meditating, I'm so spiritual, and right now I am authentic. Yeah, but the radical part is, are you authentic when you're not meditating? Are you authentic when you're driving in traffic? Are you authentic when you're talking to the person you don't like? Are you able to be your authentic self and make radical choices and decisions that change your behavior in profound ways so that your authenticity shines no matter what? It's a lofty goal. Like, I'm not sitting here telling you that I've accomplished this, but it's definitely a place to move towards. Now, where does it come with storytelling and then that word strategic? Well, when you think about storytelling in general, I can tell you a story about literally anything. There's a plant sitting on my desk, and I could tell you a story about that. In fact, I will. There's a plant sitting on my desk. I bought it because I was pretty sure like 50% that it was real, but like 50% that it was fake. All I knew is that I had killed every other plant on my desk, and I bought it, and it turned out to be real, and it's been on my desk for years because even when I forget to water it, it's very hardy and it keeps growing. And it started off with like 3 little leaves and now has, countless. I probably need to repot it, but I don't want to touch it because I have a black thumb and I'm just grateful for it being here. Okay. Why did I tell you that story? Did that really add anything to your life besides knowing that I have a black thumb? Not really. Right? If I tell you about this plant, however, from a different perspective, from an authentic perspective that shares part of the core of me and my journey with you, it adds to your experience of life and it adds to your knowledge of me, which both of those combined together allow us to be in a closer relationship. And relationship is what creates culture, communities, audiences, businesses, marketing, strategy, all of it. It's relationship. that is the foundation of it all. So if I talk to you about this plant and I tell you that a few nights ago, I was sitting here in the dark, and inside my office, I currently share my office with my baby. We call it an offersery, an office/nursery. And I was sitting with her in the dark with the sound machine on, and it was warm when we had the humidifier going, and she was asleep or falling asleep in my lap, and I was rocking in my glider. It's a glider rocking chair back and forth. And I was holding her little warm body and listening to her little soft snores and looking around for things to be grateful about. And I looked at this plant and I realized that I had an immense sense of gratitude for this plant. This plant has been on my desk and has been my constant companion. No judgment, no neediness, no anything through many of my seasons. This plant has been on my desk and seen me cry, seen my biggest triumphs as I land big clients, has seen and oversaw my daughter as she slept. This plant, through its resilience and its willingness to just give me a chance and to give me grace and to not fault me like an orchid would for not watering it for a day or for giving it too much or too little sunlight, this plant has been able to provide me with a sense of stability and growth, and is an example of what happens when you give and I give grace to others and don't fault them for every mistake and don't take things personally when they're not giving us the attention we feel we need from them. This plant was an example of someone or something that's able to stand and hold its own and resourcefully grow regardless of the circumstance it was put in. This plant, I feel like, cheers me on and has also held literal tears from me on my desk. And I sat with my baby in my arms and began to cry because I realized that this plant had nurtured me better than I had nurtured some of my relationships. This plant had nurtured me better than some of the relationships that I wish had nurtured me more. This plant on my desk was teaching me life lessons just by existing. So as I got up and I finally put my baby down for that night and I wiped the tears off of my face, I gave this plant a kiss and I promised to do better. I promised to give grace to those who I needed to give grace to. I promised that I just would decide to be happy instead of right. I would decide to be happy instead of right. I would decide to show up more consistently for this plant and others and come from a perspective of non-judgment, just holding space compassionately for myself and those around me. Isn't it amazing what you can learn from a plant? Now that story about the plant did something a little bit different, right? You know a lot more about me than just that I have a black thumb and thank God that this thing is resilient. I could go on and on about stories and lessons that in that moment I was learning from this plant and from Spirit who was channeling the message to me. That is an authentic story. That's also a strategic story. Strategic stories are stories told for a purpose, with a purpose. Why did I tell you that story? Well, because as we're entering into this season 4 of the podcast and we're entering into 2024 and we're sliding on into the parts of our vision boards where it's maybe starting to get a little bit difficult, I want you to realize, one, that you have the ability to give yourself grace and give grace to those around you, and two, that your story and your moments of story matter. All I did was describe to you one moment. I don't know how long it was, maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes, where I was sitting and looking at a plant. And some of you have gone through huge life shifts And you tell me all the time, email, DMs, text messages, I don't think I have a story that anybody wants to hear. I don't think I have anything to say. I don't think I have anything of value. Girl, I just sat here and told you a story about a plant and how a plant made me cry. And I know it was a good story. I know you liked it, right? You, my friend, has something very valuable to say. If I can sit here on a podcast and wax poetically about a plant, you have the ability to tell such profound, life-altering stories. And that's what we're going to be doing here on season 4 of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. Stories that help you grow personally, stories that help you grow your culture in your business and in your home, stories that help you strategically position yourself and your message to achieve your goals for this year, 5 years, and beyond. And stories that, yes, in fact, you can and should tell from the stage. I have some questions that I would love to have you ask yourself as you write new stories in 2024. What is the crises that I have gone through, or what are the crises that I have gone through that I am afraid to share because I'm afraid of judgment? That's question number 1. And I hope that you realize that secrets don't help anyone. Secrets do not help anyone. Secrets don't help you because you're holding on to a secret and you feel shame and you feel guilt and you feel alone and isolated because of the secret. And when you have a secret, no one else can benefit from how you've overcome, how you've grown, how you've changed, how you shifted, or how you haven't. You also can't ask for help when you have a secret. Secrets don't help anyone. So I ask you, what crisis have you gone through that you need to share? And then a follow-up to that question is, how has it empowered you to help others and drive your purpose forward? In 2024, you have the ability to write a new story. Although it seems like it, based on everything you're observing, the present moment really doesn't have anything to do with the past or the future. In this present moment, you can write a new story. And in the next present moment, you can write a completely new one. It's up to you, and you have the power to write and share completely new stories. For me, 2023 was a doozy. You can check out my Instagram for some of my posts around postpartum depression and financial ruin. 2023 was a doozy, but if I kept telling myself the stories that I was telling myself in 2023, 2024 would also be a doozy. And I don't know about you, but I don't really want to do that again. So I'm deciding to tell myself new stories. Some people say, well, the new story that you're telling yourself is a lie. You know, however you spin it or PR it or whatever you're going to say, truth is that XYZ happened. Well, yeah, but that's only one side of the truth. Yes, the bad happened, but the good happened as well. Only if you look for it can you maximize the good and then attract more good to you. Haven't you noticed that if you start off your day, you stub your toe, you break your hairbrush, you get a, stain on your pants, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And the more that you observe the negative happen to you, the more negative happens to you. Well, what if when you stubbed your toe, the very first thing you thought of was, oh, thank you for giving me a second to pause, sit down, and pay attention. While my toe calms down, I'm just going to take some deep breaths and be grateful to be alive. And you switched the story. How would that change your day, your month, your week, your year? If you switched the story. We acting different this year, y'all. We telling different stories and we acting different. But you can't do that if you're being weighed down by your own secrets. Now, I'm not telling you to air all your dirty laundry, but radical authenticity requires courage and bravery and the knowledge that the purpose that you have here, regardless of what your profession is to uplift others, to uplift yourself, to raise the collective consciousness high enough where the prevailing emotional set point is joy. And it starts with you. It starts with your joy. And the first thing that you have to do is lay down your burdens. Now, does this mean you have to do it on a podcast? No, you could even start off with just doing it in a journal. But what are you afraid to even tell yourself? What are you afraid to explore? I encourage you to do that this year, not because you need something else to add to your to-do list or because this is the year where I want you to feel emotional anguish, but because this is the year I want you to feel joy. There is no negative, truly. There's only absence of positive and things that block your positive from coming to you. The negative stories that you're telling, or the even worse, the superficial stories that you're telling that keep you stuck in a loop of mediocre feelings. Those stories are doing you more harm than good. So if you needed permission to tell a new one, a better one, a more uplifting one, a more edifying one, then here is me, Queen Aleya Harris, giving you permission to do so. I hope that you are as excited about this season of stories and storytelling as I am. And if you would like to join me as a guest to tell your story, or if you are a storyteller and you feel like you can help people tell their stories in more effective ways, I encourage you to do that. You can go ahead and apply by going to aleyaharris.com/podcast, scrolling down and clicking apply to be a guest. You can also just email me, aleya@aleyaharris.com, aleya@aleyaharris.com. Well, until next time, my name is Aleya Harris. This is season 4 of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast, and I am sending you lots and lots and lots and lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Aleya Harris. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. We wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.